Hello, welcome to Lunch with Leaders, guys. You are in the right place at the right time. If you were planning to come with Lunch with Leaders. If you're not, then I'm sorry, that statement is not true. I'm here with Rachel. How are you, Rachel?
I'm good. I'm good.
What have you been up to today?
I am writing a course on trauma-informed children's ministry. Yes, and also accidentally left my heating on too long. And so therefore, rather than living in my hoodie, this is a thermal, not my arms, but it's 17 degrees in my house.
Wowzers. When Rachel came on the call, everyone was like, what has happened? Why are you not wearing more layers? Are you okay? Are you ill? But no, turns out just a thermal and leaving the heating on too long.
That's right. We normally keep it at like 13, 14 if we're feeling fancy. So the fact that like Mark left and then left it on, I'm like, oh, it's tropical in here. I'm so
also the sun has actually come out a bit.
Yes.
I don't know what it's like where you are, but we had legit warmth, enough that we felt like we could go and sit outside, and actually it was too cold. But it was exciting to not feel like we were freezing.
Wow, it tempted you outside. I mean, I live in so it's cold and raining, but it's true. It's heating up.
As usual, we do love a bit of weather chat. So if you're just joining us, if you can say in the comments where you are and approximately how many degrees you think it is outside, and that can be on your own scale. You can decide what that looks like. I think that's fine.
I struggle now because having lived here, this is my 21st year living here. And so then when I go back to America, I'm very keen to talk about the weather, and people are not keen to talk about the weather. I have lots of things to say about the weather now. And so I'm very grateful to come back to a place.
We've trained you well. You're a true missionary. You're one of us now. I'm so proud.
Thanks.
Guys who are just joining us, this is Lunch with Leaders, and we are talking about handling questions from parents and carers. So I hope that's what you're expecting. Do invite someone else who you were expecting to be here or hoping to be here, or who just gets a lot of difficult questions. Just while we're waiting for a couple more people to join, a few things to tell you about. We have got a pop-up small group coming up. Pop-up small group is a little bit like this. It's a Facebook Live where we bring someone on and have a chat. And actually, the next person we're bringing on is Rachel. So this is what she looks like. You can have a little preview right now. But we are ramping it up a bit. We're going to be talking about how to talk to our kids and young people about gender and sexuality. We get so many questions about this, and we really want to come alongside you and support you. So that is on the 14th of March. You can just rock up on your own in your pajamas or in the car while you're waiting for a kid to get out of something. That's fine. But if you can and you're free that night, we're really encouraging people to do this in community, do it with other people. So whether that's inviting someone else over to your house or putting it on a big screen at church, we'd really encourage you to do that. So that's what's going on. We're also getting ready for New Wine Leaders. Give us a little wave and a like in the comments if you're going to be at New Wine Leaders too. Come and say hi on the stand, but more than that, we would love to arrange a coffee and a catch up with you. And we really like hearing what you're doing and how we can support you better. So let us know, send us a private message and we will arrange that. I'm going to be there, Kate's going to be there, Lucy's going to be there. So there's lots of us to catch up with. So that's great. Anything else? We've got the Forge Gathering coming up. There are almost no places left. We are down to the last 2 spots. So run, don't walk, people. If you're planning to book on the Forge Gathering in May in Shipston on Stour, you need to book on ASAP. And if you miss that, we've got a north one in November that's not that far north. So you can come even if you're southern. You're very welcome. And even if you're northern and you think it's southern, you're very welcome. Book onto the Forge Gathering, which is for children's, youth and family leaders. It's a bit like this, but for 3 days and with a lot of ice cream and worship and hugs and space to process. So come along to that.
That's a good description.
Did that cover it? That covered most of the ministry aspects. Okay, cool. And one last notice, I feel like this notice section has been very long. I do apologize. Is that the Parenting as a Church Leader course is now available on our website. Woohoo! So this has been going for quite a number of years now. I'm trying to think how long ago you wrote the book, Rach.
No idea.
a while back. So we know loads of you have come to days online or in person and really benefited from that. And we just figured out we needed to make a way that every single leader who's a parent could access this. And that's a leader in any capacity: church leader, worship leader, children's youth and family leader, spouse, training to be a leader, retired leader, all of the things. We really want to get this out there. So we are giving it away for free. It is free for you to access. We do ask if you've enjoyed it, that you might consider donating to make it possible for other people to have it. But we just want as many people as possible to do that. So Lucy or Becky will drop a link in the comments. I was going to say the show notes. This is not the podcast. They'll drop a link in the comments so you can access that. But let's get into today's topic, Rachel. So we are talking about parents and carers who have difficult questions. I'm going to hand over to you now. And as usual, far away in the comments, we want your difficult scenarios, your questions, your ideas. Just keep going.
Great. Was it difficult questions or just questions?
Any questions? I just like giving you difficult questions.
Fine.
Sorry. Go with what you planned.
No, I mean, I can talk about either, but I think
questions, all the questions.
All questions. Fine, I'll do that. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. I love being here with you. Yeah, parents have questions, and it can be kind of tricky to know what to do with them, because sometimes they have massive questions like, how do I tell my kid I have cancer? And sometimes they have little questions like, do you know of a book that covers grief for 0 to 5s? Or how do I invite friends over? They have lots of questions. And sometimes it can feel quite pressured, where you feel like you have to take on the burden of these questions, or you have to be smart enough to know the answer to all of the questions. And you will never be smart enough to answer all the questions. And I felt quite overwhelmed by that, particularly when I started. I started in ministry when I was 23, 24, and I was involved in youth ministry. And I had these parents of teenagers, parents of 17-year-olds coming up to me and asking me for parenting advice for a teenager. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm 5 years older than your kid. And it felt quite overwhelming to be placed in this position of being able to give advice. And so how do we do that? How do we cope with that? And so I'm going to give you some ideas. You will never perfectly handle a question. There's not one time a parent has asked me something, I've answered it and walked away and went, yeah, me. So don't feel like this is going to be a formula that's going to get you to the happy place, but it will help you position yourself well to be able to give what you can to parents in a way that will help them. And that's the whole point, is not that we answer a question perfectly. The whole point is that we facilitate a parent on their journey of parenting for faith. So if you've read It Takes a Church to Raise a Parent, I'm going to just briefly reference it, but this is kind of new stuff, I think, or said in a different way. And so the first thing to do is to get ourselves in the right heart position, because it can be very easy for us when we get given questions to then begin to put ourselves in the expert mindset, either uncomfortably, like I'm not an expert, don't ask me, or they think I'm an expert, so I'm feeling like an expert. And no matter what, that is a not great position for us to be in when it comes to helping parents, because when we take on the expert role, we also take on the responsibility of the answer. And so then we get this weird dynamic with parents where they either see us as the expert and therefore begin to distrust themselves, or we begin to see ourselves as an expert and we begin to be more directive and controlling of them, which is going to disconnect them from us. And so rather than see ourselves like that, I prefer that we see ourselves, as we've talked about before, as IKEA, as someone who's just like open and wanting to help parents find their own journey, but also like a help desk. I got lost, as I often do on trains. They shut lots of trains down and I needed help. And so I went to the help desk, and I had a great experience at this help desk, because the help desk lady didn't say, what's your problem? Let me tell you exactly what to do. She helped me find my best path with all of my concerns and questions and issues and boundaries. And she helped me find what worked for me. And that's our job with parents, is to help them find what works for them, because this isn't, any interaction we have with parents isn't really transactional. Any interaction we have with parents is an opportunity to disciple them and an opportunity to serve them. And so that's what we're looking at here. So this is my thing. This is not written down anywhere. So take a screenshot, or I'll take a picture of it. And in no way do I actually work like this, but these are just things that happen in my brain that might be helpful to happen in your brain too. So this is what I have. Yes, it's a highly detailed, written out on a piece of paper statement. All right. So the first job is to identify your moment. You're having a moment. Sometimes you end up in a scenario where we haven't created opportunities for the moments of the questions. This is a big question for me, like where I place myself after church, or am I busy running around and shutting down rooms and doing things after a club? Am I just in the back, working with the teams? Do parents actually have access to me to build relationship with me, to have conversations, to be that? The second thing that I then do is decide. A parent comes up and starts talking about a difficulty or a situation. And my question, this is what I've learned, and this is what's not in the book, and I probably should have put it in the book, but the question is this a venting moment where my job is to listen, or are they actually asking for help? Because it is not easy to figure that out sometimes. Sometimes they're coming to you and they're like, oh, my kid's really struggling with prayer, and I just don't know what to do because we've just been working our way around thing. We've been chatting to the kid, but the kid's just wrestling around and I'm just getting so frustrated with it. Is that a venting situation where you go, oh man, that does sound difficult, tell me more? And they're just wanting to be listened to and encouraged? Or are they going, and so therefore I need help of what I can try next because I'm needing help? And if we find ourselves in a venting situation and think that it's a help situation, then we begin to build some difficulty, because then they're just trying to like bond with us and talk about their frustrations in ministry. And we're like, let me tell you what to do. And that can be hard for them. So knowing if this is a venting situation or a help situation can be really helpful. And so just ask yourself that question as they're talking, have them talk more, give them, affirmation, listen to them. Any of us who have ever talked to anybody when we're just venting and they end up switching into help knows how that feels. So just put yourself in that situation. Are these parents, carers, grandparents just looking for someone who is in ministry, who loves kids, who loves their kids, to talk to and vent about and to process? And if so, then we're in vent and listening mode, which we can absolutely do. Other times it will definitely be a help situation where they transition then into, I need some more ideas, or can you help me? They might not ask the question, but you may think, is this a vent? Is this a help? And you could think, no, they're in a help, definitely. And so therefore you may get a straight question, and you may just think they're circling around, I'm in a spiral and I need some help. And so that we then proceed along the next steps. So know you're in a help situation rather than a vent situation. Once you have a help situation, one of the most important things to do is to say, tell me more, because often the question they're asking isn't the real question. Or often the question they're asking, you don't have enough information to actually help them with. And so it's sort of like they show up with a bag of stuff and they're like, I'm really struggling with this bag of stuff. And if you go, you have a bag of stuff, let me tell you what to do with that bag, it's not helpful because you haven't actually seen what's in it. And so when you realize they need help, then it's a, let's put this thing on the table. Tell me more about that. I want to hear the story of that. It can be really helpful, because if their kid is struggling with prayer, then it's like, well, tell me the story of your guys and how you've been working with prayer at them. Tell me their story of connection with God. And so then they can tell you where, we didn't do anything, or, they used to hate it, but now we've been trying this. And they can then tell you the story of the journey, and you'll get a lot more insights into that. Even if it's something silly like, I need a resource for 0 to 3s. It seems like a straightforward question. But the story behind it may be, my grandma's been dying for 6 years and we've been praying for her every day, and they're really struggling and they're making their question their faith. So I need a book. And you're like, so the question is really about a book. It's how do I walk with grief and questions with my kid. And so it's getting them to talk more about it and to ask more questions with the assumption that they have been on it and thinking about it and trying things, so that we're not saying, you're starting from scratch with me. We're saying, I know you've been on this journey for a while. Tell me that story of it. And what scenario are you in? And ask those follow-up questions of how are you feeling? And what does your partner think? Or, oh, that sounds difficult. What have you noticed about that? And just draw it out so that you feel like you have a good sense of what it is. And so that can be a really helpful positioning in that. Then you got two options from that. So once you got tell me more, you know more. And you may then be in two options. They may need some coaching. So for instance, in the prayer scenario, it may be that they've been trying chat for a while and they have not moved on from I suggest something, you pray, I suggest something, you pray, and the kids are stuck in a model and they don't like it. So they may need some coaching that says, it sounds like actually you've done a really great job with getting chat in there, but they may need to take more ownership of it. And so you might want to try at facilitating them to encourage each other to do that. Or they may need some skills about have you tried catching? And they may need some catching. So they may need some equipping over here. They may need some coaching through it, or they may need just some proper coaching of, well, what are they getting stuck on? And so sometimes you may go into the coach mode of helping them think through the troubleshooting of it. So they're getting bored. Do you think it's about the time? Do you think it's about the way it's done? Do you think they're actually getting bored of the chatting, or do you think it's the topics that you're around? Do you think it's that they're just hungry? Tell me more about what, coaching them through questions to ask themselves and help them find it. So they may need to be in a coaching thing. They may need some truth. So many of these things go straight to me going, you don't have to be perfect. It's okay. This is what happens to kids. They sometimes, it's a wave thing. We've talked about waves. Maybe they're just at the end of their wave and that's okay. What do you want to do next? And give them the skills of what do you want to do next? Do you think this is the wave that's crashing? Or do you think that this is just a bump in the wave? And I can sort of talk them through this and give them truth there. Or it could be that you're like, okay, yeah, they've reached the end of what they want and they need options right now. And if they need options, then our job is to not give them the one answer. Well, in that case, this is what you need to do. Oof. Our job is to be, as we've talked about multiple times, IKEA. We need to be like a beautiful superstore of choices. And even if we think there's one choice that is the best, to give parents a multitude of choices is really, really important. And so we need to give them that multitude. So say, okay, well, if you could try switching up the model and you could probably try doing this at night. I know other families have found it successful to put things in a jar and keep that pattern, but facilitate more kids doing it. Sometimes it's that they've matured out of it and they potentially may need to spend more time on their own journaling about it or going for walks with God. It could be that they do this. Does any of those sound like something that might work for you? And they could say no. I'm like, okay, I can give you some more ideas. It could be this or this or this or this or this. Or they go, I'm wondering if it is that thing. I think I'll go try that. I'm like, great. And then after they've decided what they want to do, it's like, great, well, I'm always here if you need more ideas or if you want to talk about it or if you want to dig more into maybe what's getting them stuck, because I'm here to help you. And so you sort of work through this thing of, do they need to vent or do they need help? Help me understand this whole thing better. And then knowing, do they need some coaching of new information that they don't have yet that can help them, or asking them questions until they problem solve their answers? Or do they need options that can give them a whole range of ideas that they can choose from and take responsibility for? So for me, that's how I do it. I don't do it like this in a structure, but my tendency is to go, do I need to shut up or do I need to engage? Help me understand it. And I find myself, I end up giving options or I end up coaching. And that can be a really helpful thing for me, because my whole goal is to not give them the perfect answer. My goal is to help them find their next step. And in order to help them find their next step, they may need more steps to take. They may just need to know what's making them trip, or they may just need to be heard so that they can be validated in their process and know that they're not crazy. And so all of those things are good. And that really helps. So we have about 5 minutes left. And so I asked the team to come up with questions that I haven't seen yet so that you could see it happen in real time. Anna, Becky, Lucy, Kate, does anybody have any questions that you would want me to try to work through my thingy with?
Yes. How mean are we allowed to be?
As mean as you want, because you're playing the role of the parent.
Marvelous. Okay. This may or may not be based on a true story. Or from other people we've heard. So the parent comes up to you Sunday morning, you've got a million things on, you're trying to pack away, sort all the things, you're tired and hungry. And they say, can I just talk to you about the groups? You know, I really don't like what you're doing. You know, maybe some of the activities or the way you're teaching something. I just really disagree with the way you're doing things. And I'd like you to stop, please.
Great. Okay, so you have to inhabit the character. Do you know exactly what this is? Do you have a topic in your head? Because we have to have.
No, but I'll think as you start.
I can't do this without someone engaging with me. Okay, you ready?
Okay. Yeah, right. I'm ready.
Right, fine. So I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for coming and telling me that. Let me put all my stuff down and let's find a quiet space to talk. So number one. All right, tell me more. Tell me more about what's going on. How are you feeling and what's going on?
Well, there was this other youth leader before you, and it really, my kids used to love coming. They were really excited about coming on Sundays. There were a lot of games and a lot of, they really liked this quiz thing that they used to do. They had to get points, and you know that really worked well for them. They were really excited, and I can just, lots of that stopped. I don't really know why that's been taken out, and they don't want to come to church very much anymore. And yeah, I think that's why. And I just don't understand why you would do that. Why would you make it so they don't want to come to church?
How long have they been struggling with coming to church?
I mean, maybe for a while, on and off, but just this morning I said, come on guys, let's go to church, and they were like, no, I don't want to. Neither of them wanted to come. And yeah, that just made me really sad, because I really want them to love church and want to come.
That sounds really frustrating and really hard. Was your journey of church like that? Or did you grow up like in church and stayed in church? Or did you have struggles as well?
Yeah, I guess when I was a similar age to them, I do remember struggling a little bit. I didn't have many friends at church, I think, and that made me not want to go for a while.
So I can see why that would also be like really scary and important that you're seeing this happen with your kids. And that's like really important. It's really important to me that your kids feel stuck in too. And it sounds like one of the things that they felt really keen on was that they had a good time, like they had fun here. Like that was the main thing that keeps them here. And it sounds like the changes that have been made recently are making them feel less engaged with the fun bits. And that seems to be the thing that was keeping them. And I can totally understand why that would be scary for you. Well, let's problem solve together how we can do that. Because so I'm just going to pause. Boom. Okay. So I feel like I understand way more what we're doing. So we're down here. Yeah. I'm still unsure whether we're in a vent or we're in a help. I think that we're in a help, because I think what I've heard is she's scared. And what I've heard is that she's scared. She has a memory of her wanting to leave church. She doesn't want that to happen to her kids. And she hasn't been problem solving much at home. She's saying, come on, let's go. Her kids don't want to go. And she's in a power struggle with her kids. So that's what I'm hearing right here. So now the question is, does she need to be coached, or does she need to have options? And my suggestion from what I'm hearing is that I think she needs some coaching on that. She needs some partnering with this, and she needs some what can we do of doing that. So that's what I'm going to do now. One, let's start thinking about how we can get some friendships for your kids. Do your kids feel connected to other kids? Do they have friends here?
One of them does. I'd say he's got two quite good friends. But the other one, there's no one really her age group in her. No one from her school year that she gets on with.
Yeah. And how old is she?
11.
She's 11. Oh, perfect. So I'm sorry, I couldn't remember if she was 10 or 11, depending on how big the church is.
Me neither. I had to really think about my own child's age there. Oh, your sound has disappeared, Rachel. Have you hit mute?
I know. I did. I flourished and I muted myself.
That was great. I was going to try and lip read, but I'm glad I don't have to. Carry on.
So it sounds like it's really important for your kids to have relationships and to have joy in what's happening. And there's lots of ways of doing that within the structure. We do still have fun, and it sounds like your kids really liked those specific things. We do still have fun and enjoyment, and we just want to engage a bit more. But we know from research that what really helps a kid stick is relationships and feeling like they are a part of the bigger thing. And so maybe what we could do is start playing an organized football game or something after school. We can just, after the church, sorry, my brain, after church, we can throw that around to make sure that your kids have that thing that they can count on afterwards, because that would be an easy thing. We've got balls downstairs, we've got grass outside. We can always go out and throw a ball outside to do that, to add that sort of enjoyment. But also, particularly for your 11-year-old, it's really important that she begins to feel valued by people older than her and younger than her, and that she feels a part of the church and counted on, because she's a powerful person. And so maybe we can start looking at getting her involved on a team. And maybe we can start getting her involved in people who are like her. And so then I would go into, is she an artist? Is she a scientist? Who do we have in church? What ministries do we have? Because I want her to feel like she's a part of that. And so how about you and I sort of keep talking, and let's get that balls going, or maybe we can, if they're feeling unfriended, that we can pair them up with some kids or people around them. Let's work on their relationships and see how it's going. And then maybe like every week after church, I can ask, how was this morning? And maybe it could be that we have the leaders call them midweek and check on them to see how they are, so they feel valued. But let's put some stuff in place so that we can maybe spend the next 2 months working on how your kids feel about church. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yes. So, and if not, if they're like, no, you have to change the groups, then I'm like, I can see how that scares you. And then we go back to talking about why we changed the groups and what they feel they need for it. Because I think every parent I've worked with knows that it's not the game that keeps your kids coming to church. And that is not, they feel that long-term. They're like, long-term, I know it's not going to be the game that's going to keep my kids in there. They're just like, the thing that worked for my kid doesn't anymore. And so I need to find a new thing, and I don't know what that is. And so our job is to help them create healthier things of doing that. And so there's that mode. For me, then the next step is in relationship. Then I start discipling the parent on how to talk about church. So the question comes sometimes in that question is, why did I change my churchy bit and not put it on the parent? And I think for me, what I was dealing with was a scared parent. So in that moment, a parent needed to feel partnered with, rather than feeling thrown that it's back on you to get your kids positive about it. But what would happen next was, I'd say, what might be really helpful. And I would drop in the little skills later, because I think right now she just needed truth and she needed partnership. What I would then drop in is, what might be really helpful is to talk about what you really like about church. And I'd drop that in next week. And then the week after that, I'd say, I wonder what you can, and I begin to drop in conversation so that she slowly can take on board the discipleship of her kids about how they feel about church. But at the beginning, she's very church focused. And so therefore, I would say, we're here to help you and your kids, and your kid needs to integrate in the wider church. It's not the children's ministry. And then my job is to help a parent coach her kid and how she feels about it. But I can't do all of that in one conversation. So I partner with it, and then I disciple the parent.
No, that's so good. I'm just going to ask if anyone else has either a question for Rachel about any of this, or you've got a scenario. You can private message us if you don't want to be linked to that comment, or just stick in the comments now, because I think it'd be really helpful to do this with one more. But whilst they're doing that, because there is a slight delay from Zoom to Facebook, I just wanted to reflect back. What I thought was really helpful was you didn't go into defensive mode. So I think a lot of us in that situation, we hear, I don't like you, I don't like the way you do things, and it feels really personal and attacky. And so the gut response to that is, well, I need to explain why, like, we had to take out the games because they were stupid and people were getting hurt, and actually we need ministry time, and that's where it's at. And it would be very tempting to come in that angle. So I loved what you did there. I thought it was really helpful. Okay, we've got a comment. Can you see that? So it says, I love this, but that was a lot of commitments made very quickly. Post-service football matches, weekly check-ins, phone calls from leaders. Any tips for pacing these kind of interactions? They don't become a massive to-do list of commitments. It's not that I don't want to be the supportive children's and families worker, but I also never want to overpromise.
Everything that I suggested took no longer than 30 seconds of commitment. So post-service football matches was, there's a ball, they can take it outside and play. I didn't say I was going to provide it. I didn't say I was going to organize it. It's like, they can take a football match and go, hey, anyone want to play football? It's football. And so therefore, for me, that I'm trying to think of ideas that require nothing or very little of me. Weekly check-ins really looks like this. Hey, Susie, how was your morning? Did that go okay? Very great. That's so great. Okay, well, let's talk about it next week. Like that, it's that limit of it. And phone calls from leaders. Often I find leaders, again, that's a 30-second thing. If you ever try to talk to a child on the phone who's on your leader, it's a very small thing. And I think leaders are often really keen to do that. And so if I have a kid or 5 kids who need weekly check-ins, I've never had a problem with going, hey, would you mind calling this kid for 5 minutes a week? Because they're really missing that connection thing. And so for me, I'm not overpromising because I'm not putting a huge amount of weight on me. And so I would used to have a quarter sheet in my pocket. So this is how I manage parents after a service. And so I have a quarter thing in my pocket that looks like this with the date on the top. And then when the parents go, okay, well, let me write that too. I'm just going to make football available. And I'm going to talk to this. And so I just put those things in my pocket, and at the end of the thing, then I just sort it out. So for me, having a football available just means that I put it now on my list of takedown things, or I put one in the coffee people's thing. So it comes out and then I just tell the kids where it is. Like, I think it's about reducing me being the center of those things, but creating it also so that the parent then goes, why don't you go grab the football? And then they feel that they have something to do. Weekly check-ins, I end up just checking in on everybody. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And the people who know that they want weekly check-ins will come find me and tell me. Otherwise, I just do a, hey, how was this morning? Oh, good, I'm glad. Or that's hard. Let's talk about it. So I think that's what it is you're only offering things that you know you can do and that you know are short. Because you're not taking the burden on, you're taking the connection on.
I guess too, when you offered quite a few things there, it might be that they said, yes, one of those would be really helpful. Do not care about the other ones. So then you'd have to do all of them, which is kind of nice too. Yes. But it might be worth thinking about, would that help and work for some other kids as well?
Yes.
Guys, any more questions, any more scenarios you would like us to troubleshoot? Because in just a moment, we're going to go over to Zoom and chat about this in groups. And that's a chance you can just stay hiding behind your computer. It's fine. You can disappear at this point. But if you want to join us on Zoom, Lucy's going to post the link in the Facebook comments now, and you can come and join us. You won't get sprung onto the live stream. Don't worry, we won't let you in yet. But just for us to catch up with each other and think about, okay, let me actually work this out in my situation. What would that look like? So yeah, anything else anyone would like? If they're anything like me, Rachel, they're going, yeah, I was nodding enthusiastically to all of that and then thinking, but I need to write that down and think about it before I can actually implement it. So we might have a little bit of that going on.
We can always do another scenario if would be helpful on Zoom if you wanted, about one that was a parent question. That was a question.
Do you have one in mind?
No.
You want me to come up with another one?
I'm just saying, but this is your Zoom time. So I'm just saying, I'm here.
Yeah.
Here to help.
I'm just checking because I want to see if anyone's got one that they want us to ask. Okay, we've had one come in. So you've got a parent who asks you, they've just found out that their teenager has got a girlfriend for the first time. It's a boy, and they did not think they were anywhere kind of near that scenario. And the girlfriend's not a Christian, and the parent's wondering how to approach that and how to talk to their teenager about it, and comes to you asking for advice.
Great. So I assume I have my moment. I assume that we've got past venting, and often they will just want to vent because some parents, particularly with this question, don't want to criticize their kid. They just want to talk about how freaked out they are. So that's a big one to make sure that you notice when the girlfriend thing comes in, because you want to support the vent. But they might not be asking for help. But if they are asking help, they're like, what do I want? What am I supposed to do? Because my kid has a girlfriend. So then tell me all about it. Like, what have you talked about with dating with your kid? Like, is this the first thing? Is this the fifth girlfriend? Like, what's your journey been? How have you guys as parents decided to talk about and set that up? And so you may find that they were like, at 12, we decided that they were allowed to have girlfriends and not allowed to have girlfriends. They may have a whole story in here about what they've decided. Or you may get, we didn't think about it. Now our kid has a girlfriend. And so we're starting fresh. And so whatever you get, then you can move into coaching or options. And so some of the things that if they're fresh, if they're like, I've never thought about it, then some of it is my job just to sit there and go like, well, are you happy with your kid having a girlfriend at all? And what does that, and what boundaries do you have about it? How do you feel, how's you in working with your kid? Does your kid really flourish with boundaries? Does your kid really flourish with coaching? Like, how would you approach this if the girlfriend was still a Christian? What does that change for you? And then sometimes my job is to just help parents think about it, because they're like, what do I do? And sometimes my job is to say, well, what do you think? And help them decide, how does this impact your connection with your kid? And how much connection do you want with her? And what are the important things that you feel are central to a good, healthy relationship? And how do you start modeling that? And how do you start creating windows into that? And how do you start framing for your kid what it looks like for them? And so the question of what do I do about this? Actually, it might be nothing. The answer is nothing to do about their relationship. But the question is, how do we change our parenting to help introduce healthy relationships, healthy conversations, healthy choices? And what questions can I ask my kids? So sometimes I'll give them skills into things like how is Lucy's relation, how's the fact that Lucy doesn't know God in her every day, how does that impact your conversations? How does that work out for you? And what does that mean? And do you feel awkward about your faith when you're around her? And if the answer is no, it's like, oh, that's really interesting, because I dated a guy once and actually it was okay, or I dated a guy once and I found it hard, and I really am happy that you guys aren't finding it hard, because I always found it hard to feel understood. But it sounds like Lucy's really good at listening to you. And so you just begin to reflect and ask questions, and I begin to help coach sort of how to engage with your kid about this, rather than do I forbid them from dating or not dating, because I can't have an opinion about that. Only you can. It's an option, but is that the option you want? So sometimes it's the coaching route, or sometimes they really need should I tell them to stop? And I'm like, well, it depends on what you think. And then I'm stuck in coaching again. So that's how I would handle that one.
Great. We are going to go to Zoo Rooms in a second, I promise. But I've got a question that I think everyone's got, but is too scared to ask.
Yes.
Can I go?
Go.
Which is, this sounds brilliant, and the way you explain it makes it look really easy and natural and like a great solution. But what if in the moment you're tired, frazzled, whatever, and you just shut them down or feel like you said the wrong thing? Or what's your view on, do you then call them up later in the week and say, actually, I've been thinking about what I said and I'm not sure I do think that, or I've had some more thoughts, or
100%.
you just leave it? Or
yeah, I never leave. Because my job is to be in relationship with them, not to be the perfect help desk. So for me, if I went to the help desk and the help desk helped me find a journey, and then I got stuck halfway, I would still need help. And if the help desk called me and said, this thing isn't going to work for you, actually, I suggest you might want to try something else, or you might find a bump down the road, I would want them to commit to walking with me. So sometimes I'm tired. And if you're tired or know you don't have time, be like, this sounds really important, and I'd like to make sure that it has my full attention. Do you mind if I call you tomorrow about this? I can call you after school. So that if you feel like you can't handle that in the moment, that's fine. It's also okay to be halfway through it, the tell me more thing, and you go, okay, that's really interesting. I'd like to chew on this for a little bit, and then I might be able to come up with some questions to help you think, or I might be able to come up with some good options for you, but I'm not great in the moment. Do you mind if I chew on this? And then maybe I can email you on Tuesday, or send you a video note, or give you a call or something. And so you feel free to work with your brain. I like in the mid, quickie, but some people need that space. So feel free to postpone it. But if you also feel like, I gave one option, I told them exactly what to do. You shouldn't let your kid date non-Christians. And I gave them that. You should break them up. And then you went away and thought, maybe I shouldn't have told that parent exactly what to do. Then I would call them up. I used to call parents up and be like, hi, I've been thinking, I think my advice was not great, because I think I was telling you what to do, and actually you're the expert in your kids. So I think my question to you is, what is your boundary? And that, rather than, and I'm really sorry that I overstepped it. I feel like I overstepped it. And the parents sometimes would be like, you did overstep it. Or they'll be like, oh, that's really helpful. Thank you. And so feel free to, you are not perfect, and you don't hold yourself to a standard of perfection. You're just trying to serve them and help them. And when you get it wrong, you say that too.
Thank you. That's really releasing, because I think it can just feel a bit intimidating. And I know I've had to come back to and say, I said, yes, you could have your 6 children in that one same children's group. Actually, I've been speaking to the rest of the staff team, or I spoke to my church leader, and they said, absolutely not, no way. Or, they don't need to know the details of why, but that thing that I said we could do, actually, I'm really sorry for these reasons. Like, I shouldn't have said that. And I don't think that's right. So yeah, it is okay to go back. Yeah, this has been so helpful. So much to think about. We are going to be back next month for Lunch with Leaders again. I can't remember what we're doing, but that's all the more reason to sign up to our email updates and to keep an eye on this Facebook group so that you can see. We have all our topics till the summer. It's not that we're disorganized. I've just forgotten what we're doing. So come on over to Zoom now, and we're going to chat about this a little bit more in groups. But if not, we will see you next month. Have a great rest of February. Bye.